Hey guys, welcome to the Maresa Ng official channel where we help businesses to grow. So today's question that I have for you is this, and I commonly get this question is, how do I build the culture in my business? I find that sometimes my employees don't seem to understand the culture in my company, and I find them behaving in ways that I wouldn't. So how do I get started? Thanks for the question, and guys, if you have more questions out there, please head over to my fan page. Do just give me a PM, and I love to help you to organize that question for you and even help you with some solutions. Guys, if you want, you can also email me at talktome@maresang.com, and I love to skew some of this video content over to some of your questions. So let's get into it, and let's talk a little bit about culture over here. Here are a few things that you gotta know about culture before you start building one. Okay, number one, we have to be absolutely intentional in building the culture. Now, why I say intentional? Because if we're not intentional in building a culture can be accidentally built in our business. Now, what do I mean by accidental is because if your employees have all worked in many different places before, all these various different places have its own culture, intentional or not, and they bring that culture into your business. Now, if you're not intentional about building your culture and being very clear with what it is, what is acceptable in this business and what isn't, there will be a culture, but it's not one that you will build. So the first key is that we've got to be intentional in setting the right kind of culture in the business. Number two, you need to know exactly what the culture is, exactly what the values are that you want your employees and your team members to display. That's exactly what you want. Now, you've got to come up with a list, and sometimes coming up with a list of values is so hard. But remember this, don't think too hard. Talk to your employees, talk to your business partners, talk to your customers. What's important to them obviously are important to you as well. Talk to your stakeholders, your investors if you have. Talk to people, but start making a list of all the various different values that are important instead of you sitting it down and hammering it out in your head, because that won't make any sense. You probably come up with nothing. But this is the thing, work around you. If you already have an environment, ask them what it is. And this is also the thing, the minute you come up with that list, now that list is gonna sound something like, let me see, ownership, you gotta have teamwork, you gotta have abundance, you've gotta have excellence. Now guys, that sounds like just about any annual report that I've read, and if it sounds like staple standard values, and then you chose those values, and then you went to the Oxford Dictionary and you Googled a couple of definitions, that's standard, that's very staple. Now the thing about values is that you've got to own it. It's got to be your own values. So how do you describe in your own words what is teamwork, what is ownership, what is integrity? And some of the best ways I like to explain integrity is sometimes saying, hey, doing the right thing, the honest thing, even when nobody is gonna find out. And that's integrity, not some dictionary type definition. Nothing wrong with that, but again, you're not putting your own flavor. As the business owner, as the founder, as the leader of the business, you want to be able to describe values that belong to you, and then it's in your own words, in your way that you understand it. And number three, here is where it gets interesting. Where it gets really interesting is, this is just the start. Coming up with that list of culture and values that you want to be proud of in your company, that's the beginning, because now it's all about training the team. Don't just tell them what it is. Everybody, these are our values, this is what ownership means, this is what responsibility means, this is what accountability means. The start is telling them, but I can tell you, if that's all you do, it's one way. Now what you want to be able to do is you also want to train the team, but also get feedback. Have your team during periods of time, maybe once in 6 months or once in 3 months, talk to them. All right, so the last 6 months had gone, the last 3 months had gone. Okay, so out of our 10 values, which one of the values would you say you reflected most on during your time working here? So ask them which value was important to them, how did they show and reflect on that value through their work, and why. So then they're thinking about it, and they're putting, your employees and your team members are putting your values into their own words, and they're reflecting on it. Now that's really, really important. It's really important that you get feedback on the culture and the values. Why? Because as an owner, as a leader, you get to see the gaps. You get to see how people understand or misunderstand teamwork. No, teamwork is not like that. Yeah, it's about really stepping up. It's about really helping out each other out. It's about challenging each other, and people are going, ah. So you gotta try and get a little bit more feedback, a little bit more input. Make it fun as well. Now, make it fun. Once you have your list of values, play charades based on the values. Not just presentations. Play charades. Do a treasure hunt, and it helps people through games to remember what the culture is without it being. No offense, but I know some of you have this. But you've got your culture and your value 10 points stuck at the front door of your office, and you think, yeah, that's culture. No. If anything, they come in the door every day and they leave every day, and then they keep seeing it and they're going, oh. At some point, they don't see it anymore. They're just going, oh. And then you as a CEO, you sit there and you go, guys, what are our 10 points of culture? And then they're like, no one remembers. And then you get so upset because, hey, it's stuck on the front door. How can you not see it? Oh my gosh, and you throw a fit. But that's the thing. Sometimes we think that that's our job, it's done. No, it's not. You've got to be able to train it. You've got to immerse your team. You've got to put it into the fun part, into the way they work, into the feedback you give them. And that's how you build culture. It's not overnight, guys. It's not pasting it on the wall. It is a lot of journey, a lot of process. But that's what I'm trying to say, is the beginning is getting it clear. So guys, before you know it, you of course have your team members that are calling each other out and say, hey, that's not really responsible. Hey, that's a lack of accountability. Hey, you have your team members and your partners calling each other out, and you're holding everybody to a much higher standard and a much higher culture. Of course, guys, thank you very much for the question. I really do hope you send me more questions, because hey, you hold me up to a bigger and bolder game by trying to answer your questions. I'll always do my best. So welcome more, please do. And guys, remember this: have a great business and a great life, because being in business, it's about having more life. Take care and see you next week.